Singer, songwriter, musician Alanis Nadine Morissette, known to the music world as simply Alanis Morissette, was born on June the 1st, 1974 in Ottawa, Canada. She began taking dance lessons in 1981 when she was around the age of 6, 7. She attended Holy Family Catholic School in Ottawa for her elementary school. While in elementary school, she appeared on 5 episodes of the children's television sketch comedy show You Can't Do That on Television. She furthered her education by attending Immaculata High School. She went on to attend and graduate from Glebe Collegiate Institute in Canada. At around 12 years of age, she recorded her first musical demo. The demo song was called Fate, Stay With Me. In 1989, she reportedly recorded another demo on cassette, which she reportedly sent to Geffen Records. Unfortunately, the tape was never heard. Allegedly, it was stolen, among other recordings, when it was burglarized, when the label's headquarters was burglarized in 1989. In 1991, MCA Records Canada released her debut album, simply called Alanis. And they only released it in Canada. They didn't release it anywhere else. They only released it in Canada. 3 singles was released from this album: Too Hot, Walk Away, and Feel Your Love. In 1992, she released her second album called Now Is the Time. And this also was only released in Canada. The singles that was released off this album were called An Emotion Away, No Apologies, and Change Is Never a Waste of Time. This album was considered a failure because it sold about half, a little bit over half of what her debut album had sold. So it was considered a failure. And this album also completed she had a 2-album deal with MCA Records Canada, and this completed that deal. So now Alanis was sitting with no major record contract label. So she was a free agent basically at this point. After graduating high school, she moved from Ottawa to Toronto. Not being able to get anything jumping off musically in Toronto, she chose to move to the bright lights and big city of Hollywood, LA. In LA, she met songwriter producer Glenn Ballard. Her collaboration with Glenn Ballard led to her first internationally released album, Jagged Little Pill. By the time of the release of this album in 1995, Alanis had already signed a recording deal with Maverick Records. The first single released off the Jagged Little Pill album was You Oughta Know, and it slowly caught fire. It steady caught attention, and then it suddenly caught fire. That single, You Oughta Know, suddenly caught fire, and it brought attention worldwide to Alanis and the album Jagged Little Pill. There was other singles released from the Jagged Little Pill album, such as All I Really Want, Hand in My Pocket, and You Learn. But it was the song Ironic from the Jagged Little Pill album that was the biggest hit, the biggest commercial hit on that album, and the biggest commercial hit of her career thus far. In and around the time the album Jagged Little Pill was taken off, Alanis embarked on a 18-month tour. In 1998, she released her fourth studio album called Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie. The biggest hit off this album was a song called Thank You. Other released songs from this album was a song called Unsent and another song called So Pure. In 1999, she released Alanis Unplugged, and it was basically an album of her doing acoustic versions of her previous song releases, and also she did acoustic new songs acoustically as well on this album. So yeah, Alanis Unplugged, released in 1999. In 2002, she released her fifth studio album called Under Rug Swept. The songs released from this album were called Hands Clean, then there was another song called So Unsexy, and a song called Precious Illusions. Also in 2002, she released Feast on Straps, which included a DVD of live concert and backstage documentary footage. In 2004, she released her sixth studio album called So-Called Chaos. The singles released from this album were called Everything, Out Is Through, and 8 Easy Steps. In 2005, for the 10th anniversary of her classic album Jagged Little Pill, she released the acoustic version of her classic album Jagged Little Pill, and she called it Jagged Little Pill Acoustic. The release of this acoustic Jagged Little Pill album came with two conditions though. One was that it was only available at Starbucks coffee shops, and the other was it was only available for 6 weeks only. In 2008, she released her 7th studio album called Flavors of Entanglement. The singles released from this album were called Underneath and Not As We. In 2010, she wrote a song called I Remain. And that song, I Remain, was for the soundtrack to the movie Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. In 2012, she released her 8th studio album called Havoc and Bright Lights. Only one single of note was released from this album, and it was called Guardian. In 2015, on the 20th anniversary of her classic album, Jagged Little Pill, she released a 4-disc collector's edition. And it included concert footage and unreleased demos. In 2017, she premiered a new song called Rest. And although she premiered that new song Rest in 2017, she didn't officially release that song until May of 2021. In 2018, Jagged Little Pill, a jukebox musical, premiered in Cambridge, Massachusetts, featuring Alanis Morissette's songs. In 2020, she released her album Such Pretty Forks in the Road, which was her first album in 8 years. Two singles was released from this album. One was called Reason I Drink, and the other one was called Smiling. In 2022, she released the album The Storm Before the Calm. One notable single from this album, called Safety, Empath in Paradise. In 2023, she released a song called No Return, which was a cover version of the theme song from the TV series Yellow Jackets. Alanis Morissette has been doing this for many years, and I'm kind of sure that we have not heard the last of her by a long shot. And thank her for all the music she's given us and the music that she will give us in the future. I'm pretty positive that she's gonna come out with something else amazing. And I just wish her all the continued blessings and much light and blessings and just continued success. With that, I'm gonna end the video right here. Please feel free to like, share, comment on this video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. After subscribing, please click that little notification bell in order to be notified of any new uploads from the channel. Thank you all for your support. I truly appreciate it. With that, I am out on this one. I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace. One love. Stay safe. Continue to be blessed.